Chicken Invaders. You know, I was gonna have some sort of cool introduction, but I'm drawing a blank. It's a game about shooting chickens in space. What do you want from me? This was some knockoff of Space Invaders released in 1999 I hadn't heard of until somewhat recently. And my friend who helped me with 2 music sections before this point wanted my take on this game, so here I am, I guess. I'm not overly familiar with the shoot 'em up genre, but thankfully this game is anything but complex. It's really close to an old arcade game given its length, as it goes on forever, and there's no way to get extra lives at all. Seems this game was always free, so as with a lot of games out there lacking any form of monetization like all the loved Flash games from the early 2000s, this really is about critiquing it solely as a work of art than a product. I can see why people remember it fondly after playing it for an hour or two, but the remake is absolutely what you should play now. It just replaces the original in 100% of aspects, aside any nostalgia you'd experience from playing the 1999 title anyway. It's a bit of an abnormality of a game, mostly due to the release date. It came out a single year after Radiant Silvergun, a game where its company's president was afraid of even making it due to the genre's waning appeal at the time. It's hard to compare this game to others of the time, given, again, it's free, and it's a joke game to boot. There was no entry point to ever experiencing this, ever. You just needed a computer that could run it. That being said, what do you even do in this game? Well, it's just as the title says. You move left to right as you shoot space chickens, trying to get the best score you can. There's nothing that keeps track of your distance, so getting as much points as you can is truly the only goal. Keeping track of the amount of waves you clear might have been something good to add to the leaderboard counter, I think. There's a bit of difference between what you do, at least early on, with how these meteors get set on fire and change patterns, and the different formations the chickens take. Eventually the game gets faster and faster, and gives things more health. It works well for short bursts of play until it eventually gets impossible to keep up, and you just inevitably fail. I guess the game could have done with more of a silliness factor and maybe another boss for content, but I can't say much more on it. What you see on screen is truly all you get here. As for a few issues I have, I'm not a fan of how fast the chicken drumsticks fall to the ground? Whatever. You don't end up grabbing most of them because you can't move your ship vertically. I'm also not a fan of how the presents don't give you anything past having 7 shots at once. I think giving a missile once you're fully upgraded would have been a good thing to give them incentive to still be grabbed. On the same note though, it's definitely nice how you don't go back to step 1 if you die with upgrades, you just get de-leveled one time. Surprisingly good consideration on the developer's part. Probably the biggest upset with me for this game is how you need to mash to progress. There's gonna be a whole lot of this going on. It gets tiring, but thankfully around the point I lose interest for this game, so I guess that's a good thing. Definitely overkill, I'd say. The only games I'm willing to mash for long periods of time especially, are those I'm deeply fond for, like Contra and the NES. Critiquing this piece of media is kind of hard. How do you really criticize a joke game after all, you know? I also have no idea if this runs better on Windows Vista or Windows 7 or what have you. I couldn't be bothered to set up a virtual machine, frankly. And compatibility mode with Windows straight up broke the game too. But man, on Windows 10, I actually struggled to capture accurate footage. Here's what it looked like in OBS. The game, as seen already, has a big tendency to drop frames, and I'm pretty sure it's not because my hardware can't handle this game's masterpiece presentation. A video by this fluffy person shows it running just fine, and I have no idea why. The low graphics setting definitely helps, but the game still slows down with it on. But hey, it's an option after all. I couldn't do basic things like Alt-Tab either, or put this game in windowed mode, which further shows this game's age. I couldn't find any issues besides these, but shooting a missile at full screen made the game chug like nothing else. It literally turned into a slideshow. Speaking of slideshows, this game is anything but one, because honestly, this game holds up visually. I like how the background texture you see all the time was nicely done. You can tell they decently achieved what they were going for with it. This ethereal, wispy space look that really doesn't look too blurry. The chickens also move with a decent amount of fluidity, or the 3D meteors, or the explosions I always like looking at, specifically the sprays of fire. This game really doesn't get boring to look at. I can also give similar praise for the number of animations the chickens have, this clip showing it at its best. I never thought I'd be praising a joke game's visuals of all things. The only other time I felt similarly was for that Rivals of Aether dating sim made as a joke. So, good job? This video has no music section as well, because there's only a single track in the game, and it only plays in the intro. It's the classical music by Richard Strauss, and I would say it sticks out like a sore thumb, but given this game's tone, it actually fits rather well too. The sound effects for this game are about similar in quality, and I remember laughing my butt off when you hear the spaceship have a motorcycle sound when it blasts off. On 2023, the company Interaction Entertainment decided to not only put out a remake for this game, but also made it just as accessible as the original given it's actually free. This game is a big surprise to me. The rights holders yet again made another passion project with no catches or monkey's paw tied to it whatsoever. I just wish they also put it up on Steam. You can only find it at the website, but the other Chicken Invader titles are on Steam? A bit odd, but no big deal. The respect for the original game holds tried and true. It's one of the best remakes put out for a game. I'm not joking either. This is one of the best remakes for a game I've played. How much respect they show for the original game alongside doing their best to keep the original vision is pretty admirable. It's not one of those remakes that adds new content or overhauls the game in ways outside of quality of life changes. It's just as you remember it, with almost anything you could ask for. There's remappable controls, controller support amusingly enough, Windows settings, sound settings, upwards textures, and even an extension to the introduction cutscene. Honestly, the single thing I wish they added was an auto-fire option, as I still got tired of mashing the shoot button, and you don't have access to 2 different fire buttons at once anymore either. That's probably it, besides the FPS counter on the top right messing up for some reason. It replaces the original in giving the same experience in nearly every single possible way as a modern interpretation. As time goes on, I feel games of this simplicity from this time and before it feel closer to toys, compared to the massive 100-hour plus several $million budget titles with photorealistic visuals and cutscenes straight out of a movie. This is something most people would only play now out of morbid curiosity, if at all, because nowadays this game won't remotely garner any sort of new fan base, that's for sure. And that's kind of what the sequels are for anyway. What makes this game a lot more impressive is the fact that it seems a single person was behind the remake, which is not only the founder of the company, but also the same person who made the original all by himself. I guess this game also makes the short list of notable indie games made by a single person. And well, like I said, most people aren't gonna go out of their way to play this game. But it's perfectly functional, it's got some nice smooth presentation, and it will respect you as an experience. You can go in, play it, and you can leave without really feeling cheated of your time. The remake by itself, with a bit more gameplay variety, could have easily been a respectable mobile game, honestly. Hell, if I had access to this game back in the day, I'm absolutely sure I would have played it a good amount, just like with a lot of other people that remember this game fondly in comment sections about this game. Which is why I give Chicken Invaders Remastered my highest possible score. Replays. I only award this score to the remakes that improve and add as much as they do, and they render the original version obsolete. Anyways, here's the end of the video. If you won't like a load of chicken egg puns laid before you, you can go ahead and find the exit and cluck off. Because no, I didn't chicken out from putting this hen sample in the video. I had more than enough hendurance to work around the cluck to look online for jokes that are anything but excellent. Yolks on me, I put an egg on my face typing this out. Don't mind me and this existential crisis I had here. I really can't wing for losing. I'm laying it on chick. I wanted to only peck at the idea of putting this in, but I ended up surpassing my expectations and took the whole coop with me. I have fallen into a downward spiral of mental well-being so that my puns weren't a paltry amount, even if that means being a hindrance to this video's watch time. I hope you have found this frying of my brain impeccable. because voicing this over was also rather foul. I'm like clockwork, far from a one-chick pony, and I don't come cheap. This is poultry in motion, served sunny side up, all for entertainment. I'm probably grinning when I upload this, in my mind caging the reactions to people watching this far in. Future videos with jokes in them will be as scarce as hen's teeth. Thanks for the 5 subscribers and the almost 100 channel views so far. You guys are the wind beneath my wings.